It is an honor, a blessing. Today we have a Bishop of Diocese of Novaliches, Most Reverend Roberto Gab. Welcome, Bishop Gab.
Thank you for having me here.
Bishop Gaa was born in Manila on October 4, 1962, the beloved son of Agapito Gaa and Priscilla Orendain. He studied at the Ateneo de Manila University in Quezon City from 1968 to 1980. He graduated from the University of the Philippines, Diliman, Quezon City, with a bachelor's degree in mechanical engineering in 1980. After finishing his undergraduate degree, he decided to listen to God's call and enrolled at Holy Apostles Senior Seminary, Makati. In 2000, he completed his theology graduate studies at the San Carlos Graduate School of Theology in Guadalupe, Makati City. He became a priest for the Manila Archdiocese on March 17, 2000. On September 23, 2000, he was named presbyter at the Manila Metropolitan Cathedral in Intramuros, Manila. He was a licentiate in spirituality student at the Pontifical Gregorian University in Rome, Italy from 2003 to 2005. In his 19 years as a priest, he has had many pastoral roles such as parish vicar, parish priest, spiritual director, and dean of studies. Pope Francis appointed Roberto Gaa as Bishop of Novaliches on June 6, 2019. Bishop Roberto is the third bishop of the Diocese of Novaliches.
You've been serving your diocese for nearly 3 years.
Yes.
Can you tell us about your progress of your diocese and your ministry, development, and so on?
Well, in terms of progress, I came in before the pandemic, but barely 7 months into that, as a bishop, there came the pandemic. And I don't know if I was making any progress at that time, but at that time what I was going through is I was trying to get into the role of a bishop in the diocese. And then all of a sudden the pandemic came, then everything changed. The rules changed. The rules that I learned before the pandemic, they don't apply anymore. So I had to fulfill the role of bishop with new rules, with the old rules not governing us anymore. So it was difficult at the time, very difficult. But I say, even if there were no rules that were applying, the foundation as a priest is still there. That my relationship with the priest had to be sort of concrete, had to be stable, it had to be consistent and steady, so that whatever happens to the diocese, I would know through them, and everything that had to be implemented through the diocese would be implemented through them as well. So there were a lot of things that changed, but what was still there was that my relationship with the priests. I don't know if I had really established a good relationship with the priests, but apparently it continues to deepen even now during the pandemic.
Pope Francis has called us to this very important ongoing process of synod, which is calls us the participation of the lay people in particular. You know, if I ask you how the synod process has been involved in your diocese, and what is your thoughts on the involvement or role of the lay people in your diocese, Bishop?
Well, let me start with the synodality among priests. Even before I came in, it was part of the process that there is synodality among priests. Because in the diocese, the first week is devoted to the curia meetings. The second week is devoted to the clergy meetings. The fourth week is devoted for the presbyteral council meetings. When we look at that, anything that is brought up during the curia meetings, it is taken up in the clergy meetings. Questions are given, clarifications are made, but this is further deepened in the third week, wherein there is a vicariate meetings. So that in the fourth week, when we meet as a presbyteral council, all these comments, all these feedbacks are taken up in the presbyteral council meetings. So in a sense, there was already a synodal process going on among priests. And that is why I was confident that the process of synodality, there is a germinal image or stage of synodality already among priests. However, the great transition has to be made in the parishes, like what you said, among the laity. And that is really a challenge because priests are accustomed to making decisions on their own, maybe even without consultation, because that was part of how our parishes are traditionally run. But because of what Pope Francis is trying to do, he is injecting more consultation among the lay, and not just consultation, maybe even more involvement among the lay, participation in how the parishes are being run. And that is why there is that area is where the great transition or the great change will have to happen. And during the pre-synodal consultation, the process was already begun. But it has to be practiced again and again until it becomes a way of life, wherein there is a constant participation of the lay through consultation, through participation. I don't think by 2023 we are done with all that. Since it is a process, it may take a while before all these processes become really part of the church to become a synodal church. But I'm confident because of there was one parish already doing that, a consultation, a greater participation among the lay people. They are doing it already, and they are finding it very beneficial for everybody because everybody now is on the same page. It is not something, maybe projects, plans, or decisions are not made and then handed down to us, to them. It is now taking maybe a lot more time, consulting people, making rounds and rounds of recommendation and feedback before decisions are made. So it is already being done, but on a sort of a scaled down level. And we're waiting until this process takes on a more diocesan-wide participation.
Talking about that overall situation of progress in your diocese, Bishop, let me ask you about your vocation now as a bishop. Can you tell us what are the most rewarding things? Is there any challenge also as your, bishop, your vocation?
Well, as I have begun earlier, I have barely set foot as a bishop when the pandemic hit us. And everything changed. But I think the grace of the office is really there. Because there are a lot of things that I still don't know, and yet, surprisingly, maybe through the guidance of the Holy Spirit, we as a team, with the priests, and maybe even the lay leaders, we were able to cope with the radical change demanded of us. And maybe because of that, I would not attribute that to myself. Because I am barely, at that time, barely a year old as a bishop. And I would dare say that the diocese was able to cope with the pandemic. It was able to make it ends meet. And we continued to serve the people in the capacity that was turned over to me. So I would say it's very challenging, and it demanded a lot from me and also from the priests. I was asking the Lord, what would happen now to the diocese? What would happen to the parishes? What would happen to the faithful? What would happen to the priests? And in everything, in all these questions, God would answer me with, do you trust me? So it's not about having answers, but it is about trusting God more through all this. When you trust God more, you become confident in your relationship with God. And because you are more confident in your relationship with God, everything now has a different meaning. Everything now is abundant with the message of God. So the pandemic is not about sickness anymore. It is how God is encountering us through this pandemic.
How do you find the role of your young people in your diocese, Bishop?
Well, during this pandemic, the old people cannot go out because they're not vaccinated, they're more prone, their comorbidities are very high. Young people were invited to participate in the affairs of the parishes. And that is why when that happened, that was a time that the parishes was blessed with the presence of the youth. Not just youth as followers, as subordinates, but also as leaders. And that is why this pandemic has been an opportunity for the youth to participate even more in the level of the parishes. But technically, in the level of the diocese, much has to be desired. So, I don't know what will happen in this World Youth Day, how they will be challenged, and maybe even participate even more in the affairs of the diocese. But in the parishes, because of this pandemic, they are given the opportunity, the chance to take on more serious roles in the parishes.
I believe you have a lot of things that's been happening in the process in your diocese, Bishop. Having said all this, where do you like to see in the few years from now your diocese, Bishop? Any concrete plans and dreams?
The average age of the diocese, of the priests in the diocese, is 56 years old. In 5 years, they will be 61. So we see that as a great concern, also as a great opportunity for us maybe to aggressively promote vocations. And because of this, because more and more young priests will be coming in, it means that the church, the clergy, will have a new face, will have a new personality. So in a way, I'm looking forward to a clergy that is more vibrant, more youthful, maybe capable of talking to the youth of the diocese. So hopefully, let's see what happens.
Any special plan or actions for the faithful, particular?
Well, there is the Diocesan General Pastoral Assembly. And there are two things that we will do because of that diocesan general pastoral assembly. First is to review our old vision and mission, which was formulated about 14 years ago, to evaluate what has been the impact of the vision and mission in the life of the church. And we will do that through the data that we have gathered during the synodal consultation. And that is a very vital tool or instrument to evaluate. But not only that, that will also be the opportunity for the General Pastoral Assembly to zero in on the priorities of the diocese, because we also have data. So in a way, it is a way of looking back, reviewing what we have done, and also a way of looking forward. Where would the diocese like to go based on the data that we have gathered during the synodal consultation?
I totally agree with you, Bishop. It's very
You
delighting.
maybe can become a bishop because you agree with me.
I believe you have amid so many concerns and ministries also in your diocese. A simple thing, I think, at the end you're still human being. Do you also have some exercise? You're doing
Of course.
workouts. Can you tell us more? What is your favorite
Before
sport?
I regularly would exercise, given my schedule, I would go swimming.
Right.
But unfortunately, I don't have that kind of luxury anymore. My schedule is so tightly packed that I don't have that much time for exercise. But I try to look for other opportunities for exercise. Not swimming anymore. I go walking, stationary bike. But also in terms of keeping my own sanity, that's very important. I have a hobby. I am into playing musical instruments. So I try here and there, trying to practice the different instruments that I have learned before.
Bishop, our views are besides an Asian continent, but also our Asian in diaspora, in US, in Europe. Do you have any message for our views?
I'm still wondering why God called me as a bishop. But I said that maybe in jest, but also in reality. Because how could God choose a priest who has been a formator for about 3/4 of his life as a priest? That was the ministry I know. And that is all I know. And that is when I entered into the picture of this diocese. I told them the first thing I told them, especially the priest, I don't know anything. But maybe because of that emptiness, I would also say that was also an opportunity for me to learn a lot. That was an opportunity for me to absorb everything. Not to be affected by my biases, but to try to absorb everything. And in absorbing everything, that was the time that I could learn also a lot of things. So, what am I saying? We may know a lot, but in essence, we still need to be guided by the Spirit who knows everything. And that is also an opportunity for us to trust God more in this ministry. I need to trust God more than myself. And that is why prayer, consultation, listening to people, especially to those who I know are praying a lot and have ministered to people a lot. That is the opportunity for me to listen to God as well and to learn from God, who is our great teacher and master.
Thank you very much, Bishop Ga. That's it for this conversation with Bishop Ga. I am Father Casimnema. Bye for now.
Radio Veritas Asia, the voice of Asian Christianity. Radio Veritas Asia mobile app offers services in English and 21 Asian languages. Download the Radio Veritas Asia app to get more videos from Radio Veritas Asia. Comment, like and share.